Welcome home, family and fellow citizens with African Order. I'm here another video, and the topic of this discussion is no days off. I've come to realize that when it comes to liberating my people, you can't take a break. You know, as soon as you think you've accomplished something, some white guy show up, say something that'll tickle their ear, and all of a sudden, everything you think that you've done, that white person has just undone. I'm listening to this white guy on Instagram. He's this famous TikToker. He goes around talking about how he's speaking to white America on how to end racism or systemic racism in this country, telling stories about how his father was um, telling him how blacks were on drugs and food stamps and blah, blah, blah. Then come to find out his father was selling drugs and buying food stamps. Telling black people that white people are liars and hypocrites does nothing to end systemic racism. Telling black people that you're going to add your voice to blacks does nothing to end systemic racism. Telling black people that you're going to help them march and help them protest. Look, we've been marching and protesting for 60 years, and it's changed nothing. The fact of the matter is, if you want to solve a systemic problem, you got to have a systemic solution. When you look at the negative impact that we face in this country, through education, employment, economics, political, judicial, we have to have an alternative on the other side. And if we fail to do any one of them, it threatens all of it. So this white guy sitting up here doing all this fancy talking ain't changing anything. And then on top of that, I'm getting attacked by two brothers. And one of them gonna sit up here and tell me, well, why don't you just admit that you don't want whites? Of course I don't want whites to help us liberate my people. Name me another race that have ever used the help of their oppressor to liberate themselves. You've never in the history of humans exchanging carbon monoxide for oxygen use their oppressor to liberate themselves. Why should we be the only ones to do it? You didn't see the Asians do it. You ain't see the Jews use the Germans to liberate themselves. Why we got to be the ones to do it? And then talking about something, well, what are you doing? Well, just check my messages. Check my videos out. This is what I've been doing. Then there's other food come up here talking about some. I don't align myself with blacks. They kill each other. All skin folk ain't your kinfolk or some kind of coward speak. I don't speak coward and I don't speak slave. When you say stuff like that, that's just telling me you're afraid to work with your own people. And you don't know how to approach them in a way that would make them pause and think about the way they're doing anything. But you don't want to align with your own people, but you align with whites who rape and murder men, women, and children, who will not only hang a black man, but set him on fire and cut pieces of his flesh off to take home as souvenirs. You want to align with your own people, but you will align with whites? Then the fool talking about something. You think we can fight this system without allies? And the army is the biggest army in the world. The U.S. got. How are we gonna do that by ourselves? That's nonsensical. You a coward. That's all that is. That's all I'm seeing. You're afraid. You want allies? We got 400. We got 44 million blacks in this country. We can align ourselves with. Can you imagine what we would look like if we were all working together? How many billions of blacks do we have in Africa that we can align ourselves with? If we did that, but we need whites to help us. So if you want allies, we got plenty of allies. We got Haitian allies, Jamaican allies that we all can work together with. All you got to bring whitey. So this is no confessional. I ain't got to confess that I don't want whites working with us. I say that all the time. You admit that you can't go nowhere without whites. You want them, you are a grown man, you still want whites to hold your hand when you cross the street. Learn to do for yourself. You don't see no other race of people having crucial, essential needs for their way of life totally in the hands and ownership and control of somebody else. And then as soon as you get hurt, sick, or need anything, you gotta pay their price. You gotta beg for their allowance, beg for their permission to get it. Name me another race of people that would want to live like that. Or better yet, name me one white person that would trade places with Negroes. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you're not willing to live the life that I live, then why are you helping me live this life? You should be helping me live the same life that you have privilege to. You own your own essential businesses and industries. How come we can't own ours? Because it's not about independence for blacks. It's about whites maintaining control over blacks. And they can't control you if you don't work for them. Can you imagine the way of life we would have if we owned our own essential businesses and industries? We would have the manufacturing base, the provision base. We would have the people. We would have the need and the means to supply, to be the primary supplier of these services. We would never be out of work. We will always have a job. We will always have businesses. And in governing these ourselves, then we can establish a precedence so that for any of our people that work outside of our network, we would be an example that they can't undercut our brothers and sisters. And we would have a place to absorb them back into just in case they did. This is why when whites treat you bad and make you go out and protest, they sit there and wait and then draw you right back into because you don't have an alternative. You don't have nowhere else to go. Listening to whitey telling you that whites are liars and hypocrites ain't gonna give you a place to go. Like I said, you need a systemic solution for the systemic problem. And we can't lack of fault in one of them. You know, and blacks have always had, well, throughout history, we've had black communities where we have built better ways of life for ourselves. And instead of competing with these way of lives, whites chose to destroy them. But they'll compete with China, they'll compete with Korea, they'll compete with Germany, Australia, they'll compete with everybody else in the world, but they won't compete with blacks. They won't compete with blacks. Let black people start building their own communities, they'll destroy them. Well, then Jonathan, well, they're going to destroy them while we want to build. Look, if you're going to continue letting white people tear down on what you build, then you just stay where you at. But if you're tired of living this way of life, knowing that you can live a good life in this system here, and you twist one ankle, break a bone, and you will risk losing everything you have. That's why you want to build your own. Listening to this white guy ain't gonna help you control um, your pay, and it ain't gonna help you control how much things cost. Because right now we have no ability to determine our wages and no way to determine what things cost. And whites are not going to help us do that. Only by creating an independent alternative will we be able to do that. Whites aren't going to sit there and help you undo all that they've done to us. If there was a better way of life that whites wanted us to live, they've been in control of this country from the beginning. If they wanted you to live a better way of life, they would have provided it by now. You can keep fooling yourself, listening to these white fools sitting up here talking about the same stuff that we've been doing and failing. Well, it's gonna be different this time because I'm gonna help you march this time. Get the F out of here. This country, well, I'm gonna say this. One thing he did say that was 100% true, and I've been saying it for the longest. This country is not broke. It is functioning just the way it should be. And we have been at the bottom of it ever since we've been over here. And I'm almost like Donald Trump. What do you have to lose to try to build your own? You already at the bottom. At least try to build your own, because the only place you can go is up. I'm going to end this video here. And if you like this message, please share it. And if you like this content, consider subscribing to this channel. And with this video, as with all my videos, it is for the complete liberation of my people. And I'll see you in my next message. Ashe.